Welcome, everyone, to how people-pleasing shows up in your parenting. Today, Morgan, me, and Angie will be hosting this live class for you guys. We're super excited for this information, and we just want to welcome you all and say you're in a good place and that there's going to be a lot of awesome learning today. So welcome.
Yes, welcome, guys.
Yay. So to just get started here, we want to give you guys an idea of some objectives from the class today so that moving into this, you know exactly what you're going to get out of this class. So the first thing that we want to tell you we're going to be talking about is the three ways in which people-pleasing shows up in your parenting. And after that, we're also going to be including information about helping you understand why it is you people please and, of course, what people pleasing is. We're going to be talking about tips to help you shift from that people pleasing pattern over to living and loving fully. And we're going to give you kind of our definition of that. That's our company mantra. And we're also going to give you your next step to getting yourself from people-pleasing over to living and loving more fully. So this is going to be awesome. We're so excited. So Angie, do you want to talk about what people-pleasing is?
So guys, what is people-pleasing? This is, again, a definition that Morgan and I have worked on. So if you can put down the first thing there. It's saying yes when someone asks you to do something, even though you don't really want to. Trying to keep this language very simple. It's not telling people who matter to you how you really feel because it could upset them. It's taking on the problems of those around you, like owning their stuff, getting on their side of the street.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's overgiving and then feeling very tired and often resentful as a result of that. So that's how we're defining what people-pleasing is. Because what we're doing today is, like Morgan said, we're tying in people-pleasing and parenting. So.
Perfect. So then what is living and loving fully? Because we're going to talk about this more, but our company mantra is the shift from people-pleasing to living and loving fully. So we're going to give you kind of our definition of what it means to live and love fully. So Angie, if you want to keep talking.
Sure. Okay, so what is living and loving fully? Letting go of other people's judgments of you. Express your needs and desires and feel worthy to take action on them. And perceiving that life is always loving and supporting you regardless of appearances. And, to the contrary, it's really all about perception. And it's not about controlling what's happening outside of you because we have no control over that.
Even though we would like to. We would like to think we have control.
Try hard.
Yes. It's about wasting energy on things that we really, it's not making a difference. It's not making our lives better. So.
Right.
Perfect. So Angie, do you want to start just giving a little intro about yourself and how we, this ties into your journey with people pleasing and our company together? Perfect.
For sure. So, I've been in the business for like 11 years and I'm just going to tell you, like, why would you even want to listen to anything I have to say here and how Morgan and I picked this whole people pleasing subject. And so very high level, there's a lot of things that I've done in my life that resulted in me feeling like I was betraying myself. Okay, so the core theme here was self-betrayal. And one of them was way back when I was married to my first husband. And I betrayed myself in so many ways because I didn't speak up. I didn't tell the truth about what I was really thinking or feeling inside. And when there's that breakdown of communication, relationships break down too. And so for me, I betrayed myself I actually quit the church. I quit friends. Like I stopped being friends with people as a result of feeling like I needed to please him. And I also would cut myself down. So there was a lot of negative self-talk about my body and just who I was as an individual. My identity there was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And so that was a big thing that I did in order to interrupt that pattern. I left the marriage. And so I got divorced, and this was back in 1998. So we're going back a long way. And then another way that I have really people pleased was through my corporate career. For 20 years, I was in finance and accounting and operations. And I didn't feel comfortable to speak up in boardrooms when there was a lot of men around. This is not about hating on men or anything like that. It was just that's how I felt. I felt insecure. And so I didn't speak up. I didn't get the promotions I probably wanted. I literally got fired from my first couple of jobs as a CPA after tax season. And I had a real deep insecurity about myself. And so I was people pleasing in this respect. And it wasn't until 2011 that I left corporate America. I did my business part-time for 3 years, and then I left corporate. And then also, since I've been an entrepreneur, what I have learned as far as how I've people pleased in the business is, again, I'm trying to keep this really succinct, but one of the ways was through networking and creating referral partnerships that just didn't work for me. And so I don't want to go into a great deal of detail around this, but I was people pleasing in those networking relationships. And now that I'm working with Morgan, like, we're being true to ourselves and what we really want to create with our life. We're living and loving fully. And it's not easy, but it's so rewarding. And that's our hope for you. So Morgan, would you like to share yourself personally about people pleasing?
Of course. And that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yes, to give a little background into why I'm so passionate about teaching about people pleasing and how destructive it is because I grew up in a very strict religion. And in this religion that I grew up in, it was, the focus was always supposed to be on other people, what other people think of you, and other people's problems. And you are always supposed to be on the back burner. And growing up in that kind of environment, I realized that religion, as I got older and I spent so much time with this religion, I realized it was boxing me in so many ways, where I felt like I couldn't really be myself. I couldn't really have my own opinions. And I felt, I just felt like my authenticity wasn't allowed. I had to fit a certain mold to please everyone else around me and to set this precedence of this good church-going girl that I was. And as I started to do a lot of self-discovery, I realized, wow, like, this is not the kind of relationship that I want in my life with these kind of, feelings of like, I can't be myself. In addition to realizing how I was trying to please everyone in my congregation, I realized that I was also in some ways trying to people please God, because I was so scared of him and his judgment and condescension and everything. And I was just like, wow, like I'm just living in fear, and trying to please everyone else and not really being true to myself. So as I started to realize these things, I realized my relationship with this church is not healthy. And even though I realized that need to people please was really hard to let go of, because of the fear of what everyone else around me was going to think of me, and losing those relationships that I've had my whole life. And, and so even when I saw what was happening, it was still hard to let it go. But, I'm grateful that, I had a lot of people helping me along the way. And so, my commitment in life now is, as I've stepped away from that church and tried to let go of the people-pleasing need, my commitment is to be myself, to love and accept me and everyone else exactly the way they are. And that's my commitment to help you guys do that as well. And that both of our commitment, of course. So yeah, that's just a little bit about us, kind of our background with people pleasing. Why we're so passionate about this is because we've had really tough struggles in our life that have taught us this doesn't work. This just doesn't work. So, yeah.
Thank you. That
Yes,
was beautiful.
of course. So then, Angie, do you want to talk a little bit about
Yeah.
our company and our mantra and
Yes. So we, because of all of what we just described about how we've been people pleasing, we created something called the shift from people pleasing to living and loving fully. And that's why you're listening here today. So,
perfect?
and once you make this shift, really once you get out of that mentality of people pleasing and realize that life is always supporting you and loving you truly, everything begins to change.
Yes, for sure. Because the thing is, life is hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
But then we grow up learning to people please, and we just make our life 800 times more complicated. Because again, we already have all these lessons in life that they're teaching us about love and compassion and understanding ourselves and understanding others. Those lessons are hard enough, but then when we throw people pleasing on top of it and constantly worrying about what everyone else thinks, it's just a life complicator. So we're here to help you kind of break this down, so to simplify your life and to realize that maybe your desires and needs and wants are okay, and make your life easier by realizing that. So
Yes.
perfect. So, in order for us to really explain to you guys how it is you're people pleasing and how it is that you can stop and live and love more fully, we first need to talk about the different types of parenting, right? Because in these different types of parenting styles, you're going to see different personality styles. And these personality and parenting styles are going to reflect to you why it is you're doing what you're doing and how it is that you can stop. And how it is you can have more compassion for people in your life who are these, personality types as well. So we've created this graphic for you guys that you're looking at, and we have on the outer triangles, it's the 3 different types of parenting that we've nailed down, and we're going to talk individually about each of them, and we're going to go more in depth into why it is we people please. So where there's the distracted, the overprotective, and the critical parent, and you can see in the center, everything is, we're trying to drive you toward the compassionate parent. We're going to give you a definition for that in just a minute. So to kind of get us rolling, we're going to first talk about the overprotective parent, because I think this one is the easiest to conceptualize. And you can notice we have our little helicopter, right? Because you may have heard the term a helicopter parent, right? A parent who is hovering and just over involved in their kid's life, and the kind of parent that marches over to the school anytime something goes wrong, and the kind of parent that's doing homework for their kids and just trying to rescue them and kind of stealing their success from them as well. So the idea here is, with this overprotective personality, with these parents, because we all know people like that, right? Whether we've seen it in a movie or we've seen it in real life, we know of people with these tendencies. And what we want to ask ourselves is, how is a parent doing all these things for their kid? How is that people pleasing? And just think about that for a second. How is them being over involved and over responsible for their children people pleasing? And the answer, the best answer we've come up with for that, for you guys to understand this, is that in them over taking over responsibility for their kids and trying to kind of save their kids from failures and save them from pain and everything, and be there and be the hero, is they want to present themselves as the one who is saving everyone, so that they can feel that they have your acceptance, that they have your love. They're trying to people please their kids in order to have that connection with them, in order to feel like that they are safe and secure in that connection, and that they won't be rejected by you. They want to give you whatever it is you want. You think about, as a parent, a mother or a father, you want your kids to be happy. You want them to be happy so bad, and you don't want to see them sad ever. And so that tendency, that drive to over protect and over make your kids happy, it actually ends up damaging them, even though we have good intentions, right? We have such good intentions. But what impact this has on a kid is that it sends the message subconsciously to that child that they're not capable of handling their own battles, that they're not capable of doing their own homework, that they're not capable of, making their own money and being responsible and independent. And so we don't want to send that message to our kids. We want to send a better message to them. So the one tip we have for you guys, if you struggle with the overprotecting parent, and remember, we all have, different aspects of this in our life. Maybe you don't fall into just one category, but to help with this specific kind of issue is give back responsibility to your kids. Let your 5-year-old unload the dishwasher, let your 13-year-old do his own science project. And that doesn't mean you can't help, but of course, don't do it for him. Let him have his own success and let him have his own failure and learn from that too. And in addition, if you have adult children, you stop doing their laundry, maybe stop paying for everything for them. Those are some great examples. So Angie, would you like to add anything to the overprotective parent?
I think you did a great job. I think you covered everything to the level that we have time for today. And
Great.
So I think you did a great job.
Awesome. Then moving on, you want to lead us through the critical parent, the hard ass.
Yeah. So the critical parent is, and remember, we all have all 3 types of parenting styles within us and how we parent our children. So it's not like we're one or the other. We just have maybe more of one than the other. We're more predominant in that area. And so with the critical parent, they are often dismissive of their children's feelings. And they are very much aiming towards some perfectionistic standard that they want their child to follow. And so they can be very critical. Like Morgan said, we call this the hard ass. Personally, my dad was very critical. And so I learned this growing up, that if I didn't do things just so, that I would be criticized and cut down. And remember, sometimes this can be more subtle. It doesn't have to be like real loud and yelling at somebody, but it can just be more subtle. And he just taught me, because through this example of, like, I was learning to ride a horse. So he tried very hard to make sure that I did it, just so, like, sit up straight, Angela. And there was this feeling of impatience around it. And I grew up into a child who was very afraid to take risks and afraid to put myself out there. And I had performance anxiety. I didn't want to play games. I didn't want to try new things. And so this is the impact that we can have when we take on this critical parenting style. Now, how is it people pleasing? Because it might not be as obvious how it's people pleasing. But if you really think as this style, they're doing it because they have some image that they want to attain. They want to protect their image. And so they try very hard to be perfect. And again, it's that dismissiveness of people's feelings, okay? When they do this, they are, why are they people pleasing? Who are they trying to please when they do it? And the answer is that it depends on who they're trying to people please. Maybe it's their parents that they feel like they have to prove something to, or maybe it's their teachers from when they were kids. Maybe it's their children, right? Maybe they need to appear perfect to their children, and they don't have a lot of space to show any sort of vulnerability that they're not perfect. And I have this, I remember my daughter saying to me something like, when I didn't want to show feelings, I didn't want to cry in front of her. She's like, well, why do you have to appear to be so strong? Are you always so strong? And that was just an image, right, that I was portraying. And even though I didn't realize it. So that's why, it's people pleasing because we're trying to prove something to somebody. But if we really understood that we were enough and that we were valuable, then we wouldn't try so hard and we wouldn't need to put out so much effort to people please. No matter who it is, society, and some imagined image. Does that make sense, Morgan?
Yeah, and that would allow us to let go of the criticism of our kids and our spouse, and we wouldn't be so overly like got to keep the standards so high that it's impossible. Right, right.
Right, right. So what is the solution? What can you do here? And the one tip that we want to leave with you today is that you can begin to listen, really listen. And so if you have young children, I mean, maybe, they have different experiences that they're going through right now. So you want to meet them where they're at. So if you have a very young child and maybe they had a ballet recital, but they didn't do so well and they were being very critical of themselves. So if you just listen to them about that instead of trying to advise them or talk them out of their feelings, but really just listen to them, that would be a great start. Or maybe it's your teenage son who just broke up with his girlfriend and he's really hurting, and you feel like, well, that's silly. Like, that's just teen puppy love or whatever. You minimize that. Whereas we really just need to talk to them, really listen to them, actually not do so much talking, do more listening. So that's the tip. Listen to them. And it can be your adult child who's going through something that maybe they have a totally different personality than you, and it's hard for you to relate to their current circumstances. That's okay. You don't have to agree with everything that they have going on or even really understand it, as long as you can just be with them in their feelings and emotions and not make fun of them. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. We'll just move right along. So the last parenting style we're going to talk about, of course, other than the compassionate, is the distracted parent. So the idea here is we have the little cell phone picture as an example of one way people are very distracted. These are the parents that are hyper focused on things. We say things, this could be work. This could be they're on a lot of committees with their church or their community, or this could be even like illness, like if they're focused on physical pain and they're, whatever it is, whatever they're focused on, it's causing them to be distracted, and their loved ones are slipping through the cracks. So as they're, maybe a workaholic or something, that their kids are feeling a lack of engagement, and you may wonder, again, this over involvement, that this parent that is doing all these things, just over scheduling themselves and just being so distracted by all these things, how is that people pleasing? And if you really think about it, again, it may not be evident right away, but if we think about this and we realize that as they're on all these committees and doing all of these things, involved in all these things at work and projects, that they're people pleasing that audience that they're involved with. They're doing this service maybe with their church, or they're overachieving in their work projects, and in doing that they're pleasing those audiences. And as they do that, they're kind of letting themselves and possibly their children and important relationships kind of suffer a little bit because of that. And so, and it's hard, the element here and I know for me, like the distracted parent is definitely the one that I fall into. I remember in high school, like I was involved in every single club I could be in. I was involved in like all of my community church stuff, and it made me feel important. It made me feel like I had like a purpose and I was doing things, but then, but my family relationships were suffering because I was so busy I couldn't connect. So the one tip we have for this parent, because, if your children grow up feeling like you were distracted, perhaps they may end up feeling a need to get a lot of attention. And you don't want your kids growing up feeling like they have to have that kind of unhealthy amount of needs. So the tip here is put time on your calendar. Now, and the key here is put time on your calendar for your loved ones and actually commit to it. And it may sound silly, like, why would I put my family on my calendar? But why wouldn't you? If they're the most important and what's on the calendar is what gets done, then your family should be on your calendar. And there's no shame in that. So you put time on your calendar to make a tent out of blankets, a fort in your living room with your 5-year-old. Put time in your calendar to take your 13-year-old to go see his favorite movie, or for your adult child to go sit down at their favorite restaurant with them and just be with them and be engaged. Putting time on your calendar for your kids, it's just going to help you create better connection with them, and to let go of perhaps that need to people please all these other people that don't matter as much as the ones that really, as your family and your immediate relationships matter. So anything you'd like to add on that, Angie?
Just a question, Morgan. So like when you were growing up and you had all this stuff on your plate, you were involved in so many things. Did you ever think about who you were trying to people please then?
That's a good question. And I would say that I think on some level, it was the outward appearance of people in my church and my family that I had to be the perfect church girl, and I had to present that image really strongly. But I think in some ways it was pleasing myself, because it really gave me purpose. I remember feeling very depressed after I graduated high school because I was like, I don't have a purpose anymore. This made me feel so important, being so over involved. That busyness was like a badge of honor.
Right. So you were, and also pleasing God, right?
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit like,
Oh, yeah.
if I do enough, I'll feel better about myself. I just had a thought about, but it kind of escaped me. So,
I can earn my salvation, right? If I'm doing all these great things. Very
right.
True. Very true.
Right. And you said people pleasing yourself, and that feeling of overprotecting yourself, like, because a lot of times when we're distracted parents, we don't want to feel whatever's going on with us. So we can get into that overprotection. But let me just ask you one more little area of the question, was that if you're people pleasing yourself, this isn't the brand of people pleasing that we're advocating, is it? Right? Like when you were people pleasing yourself and in the spirit of overprotecting yourself from other people, from feeling your own feelings and all that. And it seems like, well, if I'm people pleasing myself, isn't that good?
Right.
But it's not, is it? It's not the same thing.
It's the way in which you're doing it, right? Because my intention was to fulfill a need I had in an unhealthy way, whereas the goal of what we're doing now and what I strive to do now is to fill those needs I have that in healthy ways, instead of trying to hide from those feelings and those uncomfortable situations and make myself feel important through all these things that are going on. I'm trying to realize that I'm important because I'm a human being and because I'm great the way that I am. And so yeah, that's a great distinction to make for sure.
And the last distinction I'll make here and around this idea, because it's prevalent, so many people are distracted nowadays, is that when you people please, and how you people please in this way is through lots of service, right? You may think service is a good thing, to give service, of course, but where it breaks down, and I always say, how we give makes all the difference. So when you begin to give and you start to get resentful of that giving, then you've marched over into people-pleasing territory.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how we're giving, you and I may have the identical life. Like you're doing the exact same things as me, but behind it, the mindset is that you have to give. You feel obligated. There's something inside of you driving you to please society or look like you're giving service. And then the other side is like, if whoever's doing it, like the other person can be given from this place of total love and they don't feel obligated in any way. So that's the distinction that I think is important to make here.
Yes. And that in learning that distinction, it can be hard at first because you have to do a lot of self-reflection, but that's okay, right? Because that's what life is all about, is starting to understand our desires, our wants, our needs, our habits, and deciding what needs to change and what can be better.
Right.
So,
Great. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to lead us on the compassionate parent kind of definition here?
And I know we're kind of running a little behind, sorry, but
no, it's great.
With the compassionate parent, this is the culmination of where we're heading, where we want to become aware of these different parenting styles, and we want to converge and sort of realize that I want to be the compassionate parent, somebody who is available, emotionally available for my kids, and who really sees them as you've got this, you know, there's this, you've got this attitude versus the overprotective parent might have the attitude of, I feel kind of sorry for you. Let me do this for you, you know, and the critical parent might just be, well, you can't do this. Like, let me do it for you. But it's more of it's a different energy, you know, but it's a lot of the same result. So the compassionate parent doesn't feel sorry. Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone and believing that they don't have what it takes to figure it out. Compassion is really believing beyond someone's story that they can figure things out. And so when we do this, we actually create close connection with the people that we love, because they sense below the surface, almost energetically, that we believe in them.
Yes.
So this is where, and they don't interfere with their child's path.
Right.
So this is where we all want to lead to. This is the goal.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that it's so easy to think that in whatever parenting style we fall into, it's so easy to think that, oh, we're doing good for our kids because we can say, oh, like when we're doing everything for them, oh, we're helping them so much, or when we're very critical of them, like we're teaching them to be really good. But where we want to be at is teaching our kids that we're here for them, that we're supporting them, but that we believe in them and that they can do it. Because when we set our kids off into the world to be their own people, they need to feel like they can believe in themselves. And that's the goal, is giving them love and support and saying, you got this. And that's the best gift we can give to our kids, is that they believe in themselves, because it goes a long way, you know? So
resourcefulness. We're teaching them how to be resourceful.
Yes, resourceful, exactly. So then, yeah, we're just kind of looking back at this so you can see it full picture again of all these arrows kind of pointing back to let's drive ourselves toward compassion, drive ourselves toward the parent that knows how to balance these different pros and cons of these different personality types. So then, so moving on, we want to talk a little bit more about, again, why is it that people please? So Angie, would you like to kind of lead us on this page?
Sure. Yeah. So we're just diving a little bit deeper here into why do we parent in those ways that we just talked about? The overprotective, the critical, the distracted. Why do we do that? Like, what's really driving that behavior? So we're taking a deeper dive. So in order to do that, we need to bring in something called the ego needs. And the ego is that analytical part of our minds. If you think of the iceberg analogy, where the part that sticks out of the water, that is our conscious mind, or the ego, also known as the ego mind. It's very analytical. It gets into analysis paralysis, because honestly, it's like the guard dog to underneath the surface of the water, that subconscious part of the mind. It doesn't want us to feel. It doesn't want you to feel anything negative, and so it guards you from getting to those emotions.
And
so
it doesn't want you to change. It doesn't. It wants to prevent that change, because that part of our mind says that, oh, I just want to keep us alive, so I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing because I know that's going to keep me alive. So
exactly. So the thing is, we have 4 primary ego needs, and I just want to talk briefly about them. So one is safety. You know, this just makes sense. You know, we want to think that we are safe in this world and that we're protected. And so we'll often want things to look a certain way in order to meet this safety need. We'll try to control things a lot if we have a strong safety need. And by the way, these four ego needs, we all have all of them. We just tend to gravitate more towards some than others. Okay.
Sure.
So, and we're going to tie these needs back to the parenting types, but we're not going to do it for all of them because we don't have the time here today. But I want you to know that we have an offer for you that we're going to be presenting. And in this follow-up course, we go into this in so much more detail. And we will then cover the safety and the drama need, which is coming up here. But today we don't dive into that. We're only going to dive into the connection need, and then the next one, which is the importance need. So the next one is connection need. This is just where we feel like we want to connect with people. And sometimes we want to connect so much that we take over responsibility. This is your standard overprotective parent. And we'll get into more in just a second. So this is just a broad overview, but connection need, sort of a love need. Okay. Importance, again, that seems obvious what that is, but this is the ego need that says, I need to look good. I need to have an image of perfection. And that, as you can tell, really ties in very strongly with the critical parent. So, and the last one is the drama need. And, you know, if you've ever watched Netflix or any of the, like, the shows on there, like Shameless, oh my gosh, like, you can really get that drama need met by watching shows like this. Sometimes, you know, again, we all have this, but a person with a high drama need would be very much, you might call them a drama king or drama queen. And we thrive on chaos in some ways. Okay. So that's the fourth ego need. And these, how do they all tie in is the question to people pleasing and to the parenting styles that we've been talking about today.
Perfect. So then, yeah, first we're going to be getting into the ego need for connection, and we're going to attack this from the different kind of parenting angles, the different parenting types. So just starting with the overprotective, because again, I think this one is always the easiest to conceptualize. So that the overprotective mother, remember, or father, of course, the helicopter parent, the one that's hovering and smothering and over helping, and in that way, they are trying to fill their own connection need, but recognize that they're filling it in an unhealthy way. They're trying to overcompensate for a lack that they feel internally, and it's coming out in kind of destructive ways to their relationships. Because a child who grows up with a very overprotective parent may end up resisting that parent in the long run because they don't like the over smothering. So that's kind of a little bit about the overprotective. Did you want to add to that before I go on?
No, that's good.
Perfect. So with the ego connection, again, the ego's need for connection, looking at the critical parent, remember the hard ass that we like calling it, is these people push themselves so hard. They expect very high things of themselves. And the reason why this is because they believe that if they can achieve this, you know, ideological perfection, that they will be worth connecting with. They will earn that right to connect and be loved and accepted. And so you got to recognize that them pushing themselves really hard really does come from this internal insecurity that they're not worth being loved or being accepted. And understanding this about ourselves and about people in our lives, it can really help us to create better relationships with everyone, you know, all aspects of this. Did you want to add anything before we go on?
On that one, just, yeah, they not only push themselves very hard, but because they do that, they push their kids very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And they often connect with their children on a very strong work ethic. So they could both be pretty much into tasks and working really hard. And so for the critical parent, the way that they connect is through this shared values. They're trying to get their children to have similar values as they have. So that's how they try to connect. And they would love it if their child had the same values and worked really hard, and, you know, but a lot of times their children don't. And so when they don't agree on something, that's when the conflict arises. But ultimately, like Morgan was saying, they want to connect because they want to feel loved. They want to feel loved just like we all do.
Yeah.
But they don't really know how to do that. And when they push themselves and their children really hard, it actually has the opposite effect. It creates disconnection, which is what all of these things do. They create disconnection with the people who love the most.
Very well said. Yeah, because when it comes down to it, yeah, we feel the most fulfillment and purpose in life through our families and through our other close relationships. And ironically, in trying to keep those things working well, we sometimes just have very bad habits we've learned, and now it's about upgrading those to more healthy habits. So moving on to the distracted parent and that ego need for connection they have. So when I think about, again, the distracted parent, it's and using myself again as an example, in high school, I was in every club there could be. And so I knew everyone in my high school. I mean, I was very well known. I won't say popular because that comes with other connotations, but I was very well known and well liked. But my relationships were very shallow. Because I was scared to allow myself to connect more deeply with people because I was afraid of getting hurt or being rejected. Like if someone finds out who I really am, they're going to reject me. And that fear, drove me to have a lot of relationships, but all very shallow. And it was me just having so many relationships was me trying to fill that void of that connection because I really wanted to connect and I needed to connect. So anything you'd like to add, Angie?
Yes. No, that's perfect. It makes sense because it's we have a lot of I'm trying to think of the word, content conversations when we're in this mode, like how's the weather, how's business, we keep those conversations shallow versus going deeper into process conversations about what are we thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
And because that's more vulnerable. So yeah, but the point here is that we all want connection, we all want to feel loved. And it's just about figuring out how can we do that in a healthy way.
Yes, perfectly said. Perfect. So would you like to lead us on the ego need for importance?
Sure. Yes. So with the ego need of importance, again, this is often demonstrated when we try to get accolades, to try to be on boards and committees, and we're competitive and we really care about what we look like and how we're viewed from other people. So let's tie this back in, this ego need for importance into the overprotective parent style. So with the overprotective parent, remember, they want to be the hero, the savior, and they do this by trying to save or fix everyone around them. The mom knows best type of mentality. And this, I know personally that I have had this, and the other day I was talking to my husband, and I said something to him about, we were talking about these different parenting styles, and I was thinking, well, I'm not really that much of an overprotective parent, and we were talking about mom knows best, and he's like, well, you do that with me. So I was like, yeah, and I have to admit, and it's not something that I'm proud of, that I have. It's sort of an arrogance, right? Like, oh my gosh, well, I have figured things out, and I've said it to my kids and my husband, like, you guys, don't you trust me? Like, I've done all this work, I've done all this research. Don't you trust me to tell you that my way is actually, no, I didn't say it like this, but that what I'm telling you, the right way, And so, unfortunately, that doesn't create connection. It just creates more disconnection. Even if our advice is very sound, it doesn't matter, because now I'm on this high horse, this pedestal, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes a know-it-all. And yeah.
Very true.
So that's how that shows up. That ego need for importance shows up in our parenting style of overprotective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you want to add anything, Morgan.
Yeah, I think I would just say to add that this ability to be everyone's hero and fix everyone's problems and save everyone and do their homework and do their laundry and do all that, it makes them feel important. And we all want to feel important. So that's just how it shows up. And again, it's no shame. It's just seeing it, recognizing it, and then being willing to try a different way to get that need met.
Right. And for the next one, the critical parent, this is a more direct correlation. It's more obvious because the critical parent, we know that they're trying to get that importance need met through their image and that perfection, they're pursuing that perfection image. And truly, like, I think of my dad, that it wasn't that he was really trying to criticize me. It's just that he did not feel good enough within himself. And anytime I've ever been critical, that's what's been going on with me too, that I didn't feel good enough. So I felt like, well, hey, I'll take the focus off of me, put it on you. And, when we're not feeling good about ourselves, we will often do that. And it does kind of help initially to make us feel a little bit better, but it's not sustainable. And it creates that disconnection again, where people, they don't want to hang around you, that they'll, and this goes for our children. Like, if we want to have relationships with our children into our old age, then we need to look at our relationships and really honor them and let them just be who they are. And so, yeah, I've got a critical parent within myself for sure, that I criticize me, you know.
For sure. Yeah, that's perfect. And I'll just add that, yeah, it's this idea that if I can put on the perfect image of the perfect family, and I can fool everyone to thinking I'm good, and it makes me feel important.
Mm-hmm,
Oh,
mm-hmm.
perfect. Perfect.
Right. And then with the distracted parent, how does this ego need of importance show up with them? Well, like Morgan mentioned earlier, they wear this busyness as a badge of honor and always trying to give service. We talked about this. They overpack their schedule. I remember someone to me one time saying, like, how do you get it all done, Angie? You know, and that fed my ego, quite honestly. And now, I mean, I have workaholic tendencies, but I am aware of it. I've been moving away from that and actually really trying to slow down, because I'm realizing, who am I trying to please here?
Right.
My daughter Maddie, who passed away in October of last year, she said to me, like, well, Mommy, why would you ever do something that you don't really want to do? You know, and she taught me that I really don't want to be that distracted parent, but I want to be present to the people that I really love.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And just to add to that Maddie story, I love that Maddie story. That's very Maddie to say that.
Yes.
And, because she understood it. She knew, like, you don't waste time in this life. Like, she had just a remarkable understanding of that. And she said, you know, why would you ever do something you don't want to do? And a lot of times it comes back to people pleasing. And just and just recognizing that and saying, okay, I see it, I understand it, now what? That's powerful, you know. What's a better way, you know? So perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's just, we're just sharing with you how the connection need and the importance need, the ego needs, show up in your parenting styles, and just with this whole people pleasing idea. But ultimately, why do we people please? Hopefully it's starting to become a little bit clear that the reason that we do this is because we want to feel connection. And we want to feel connection to our tribe and that sense of belonging. So when I say tribe, I'm just talking about with humanity, with the human tribe. It's built into us that we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be left alone. And from my experience and working with people and with myself, it really comes down to, everything comes down to this fear of loss and being abandoned. And so that's why we're so driven to people please and to betray ourselves.
Yes, that was beautifully said. And just how ironic is it that ultimately in life we all want to be loved and accepted for who we are, and yet we're too scared to show anyone who we really are, because we're afraid that when it gets down to our core level, that if we show who we really are and we're rejected because of that, like, then what's the point? Like, it's such a scary, you know, connection in our mind. But again, it's realizing that maybe, you know, you really are worthy regardless of what other people think. And it's hard to get to that place, but again, it all starts with just recognizing these patterns and recognizing that we want to feel love and connection, and that there's ways to do that in healthy ways, instead of falling into these kind of more destructive, disconnecting behaviors. So, yeah. Perfect. And then, you know, just as a transition here, I mean, there is a better way. There is a better way to get our needs met, because we're human beings. We have these egos, we have these needs, and that's okay. It's just learning, how do we get these met in healthy ways? How do we understand ourselves so that we can let go of what other people think and really allow ourselves to see our own desires and achieve our own goals, you know? And you know, that's what living and loving fully is all about. That's what our company is all about. So Angie, if you'd like to lead us on this.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on a second. Okay, so the path, this new way that we're talking about, it's to live and love fully. And we mentioned earlier what that really means, and to feel like we are loved and we're supported in this world. And it's a perception thing more than it is really based in reality, right? It's not about what's happening to us that determines this. It's more about how are we seeing things? What lens are we looking through? So whenever you begin to live and love fully, we're coming from this new way of being in the world, and not controlling things outside of us, because when we try to control things outside of us, we feel more out of control.
And that includes,
yeah,
I was just gonna say, that includes controlling other people's perception of us. That's key, right? Because all of this that we're doing, it's to control other people's perception of us, all the people pleasing, So anyway, continue. Yeah.
Yes. So when we begin to live and love fully, and we start to receive this wisdom that we truly are loved and supported in the world, what happens is a few remarkable things. One of them is you start to feel secure. So remember earlier we talked about safety. That's an ego need. Imagine that each of these needs has at the opposite end of a spectrum. Think of a line, and at the opposite end of that line, you have the higher self. Okay. Just, I don't know how else to say it, but like on one side you have the ego, and on the other side you have your higher self, your best potential, where you're living out fully, living and loving fully. So on that end of the spectrum, we have security. This is when you believe you really, even though you don't know for certain what happens after you die. Yeah, we're going to get some deep here. You choose to believe beliefs that serve you. You make peace with the unknown. And you choose to believe that there's an intelligent design to all that is, and that your story is unfolding exactly as it should be. No mistakes are possible. So if you came from that place of security within yourself, how could you ever really be unworthy? How could you ever really be unworthy? Just think about that for a moment. Then let's talk about the connection need. Remember how we've been talking a lot about this connection need, which is why we people please. So whenever you start to receive the wisdom of living and loving fully in your heart, because this is not a head proposition. This is not about what's going on up here. It's about what's going on in your heart and in your energies. And when you start to feel loved, see, that's at the opposite end of the spectrum of connection. So connection's on the ego need. Love is that's where we're heading, right? All these things on the opposite end of the spectrum are leading towards the compassionate parent, where we not only compassionately parent our children, but we compassionately parent ourselves. Okay. That's the deeper transformation that's possible here. And when we do that, when we really love, what if true love was about unconditionally accepting all of you, the good and the bad? What if everything that you are and ever could be was 100% acceptable? So if that were the case, how could you ever really feel unloved or unlovable? Feel into that and really sense what I'm saying. Let's talk about importance. We've been talking about that one a lot today too. And so importance is on the ego need spectrum, and it's on the, let's say, the left side. On the right side of the spectrum, we have significance. So this is where you want to move to be the compassionate parent. You want to feel significant, regardless of what other people think of you, what other they say about you. It's irrelevant. Some higher power or true creative essence designed you. There's no one else like you. You are unique, and you are special, and you are loved. So if that's the case, how could you really ever feel unimportant or insignificant if that's who you truly are? So let's now move into drama. We've touched on that a little bit here, didn't go real deeply into that. So on the opposite end of the drama ego need is the higher self, freedom, which isn't that what we all want? What if who you really are is really beyond your mind's understanding? That as long as you're in this human body package, that you won't get it. And what if that's okay? What if that's okay? That if you really took on this persona, this belief, this mindset, how could you ever really be trapped? How? And so think about that for a moment. You know, when you really start to live and love fully, you start to feel secure, you start to feel loved, you start to feel significant, you start to feel free. And what happens as a result of all of that is that you begin to trust yourself. That's right. You believe in yourself to figure things out. You give yourself the benefit of the doubt and drop, that self-doubt starts to drop away. Decisions start to be made. Are they going to be perfect or right? No, it doesn't matter at that point. They could be the wrong decision and you'd still be okay. So with this mindset, you know that life is happening and you feel at peace with it. And with this mindset, how could you not trust yourself? How could that be possible? Because no, you're no longer resisting. You're now accepting life on life's terms. So, Morgan, anything you want to add to that?
That's beautiful. And I think the coolest thing about this is where me and Angie feel really passionate, because we in our lives have spent years trying to understand why it is we do the things we do, why it is we have these needs that we have, and how it is that we can upgrade our lives. And in understanding all of that, we've come up with our own techniques of how to help people go from, those ego needs and getting those needs met in unhealthy ways over to the healthier ideas. And we're trying to exemplify that in our own lives, because we're not perfect. But this is our journey, and this is what we've learned and found so helpful in our life. And even though we're not perfect, I can say that in the years I've been doing this kind of internal work, trying to understand myself and trying to move forward, I feel so much better about my life. I'm manifesting so many better relationships and just happiness and contentment. I handle things a lot better, and it's all because of these techniques and things that we've learned that have helped us so much. So, yeah.
Awesome. You want to go to the next slide?
Perfect.
So that's the whole reason that Morgan and I created the shift, because from people pleasing to loving fully, because we want to help people have that freedom to trust themselves, to really be who they are and not have all that shame and that guilt that wears them down. And so that's why we're offering this different way. So what do you want? What do you really want? What we're going to do in this shift is it's a 6-month program, and I would like to tell you a little bit more about it. And, Morgan and I, this is our first collaboration together, but with the two of us, we've been doing this for over 15 years. So that's our level of experience. And one thing that we're confident about is that with our kind of support and our kind of compassion for where you're at, compassion, not feeling sorry for you, but really believing in you beyond your stories that you tell yourself, that we're 100% confident we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to go. That is for certain. We don't have every little nitty-gritty detail figured out, but we have a lot of them. So I just want you to know that. And that's in the essence of being transparent with you, that this is our first collaboration together. And so what we'll do in this shift is really help you to identify what you want and what is the ego. How has the ego been outwitting you? What ego need are you most? It's a blind spot. Now you'll think, well, I'm aware, I'm very self-aware, but it doesn't matter how self-aware you are. We all have blind spots, every single one of us. So we, being outside parties, objective, we really care deeply about your transformation and your shift. And so we will help you reveal those blind spots. And this is kind of funny play on words, but this is so key. It's like we're teaching you how to have training in self-care. And we thought about calling this a customized AM ritual. Angie, Morgan is one thing it could stand for, or a morning routine. And it's amazing once we create a customized self-care ritual or AM ritual, how everything starts to shift. You actually rein in those ego needs and you have so much more confidence, self-esteem, self-worth as you really begin to implement this.
Yes. And it's that, learning that consistency, having someone to help keep you accountable to that consistency, because it's looking within that's going to allow you to make all the changes that you want. Whatever it is, it's going to be that looking within and understanding yourself, and then knowing what steps you need to take forward. And that customized AM ritual is a big part of that. So and just to
Yes.
clarify, in this program we're creating, it is a 6-month commitment where we will be working with you to help you achieve what it is you want. You'll go into this program with certain desires and goals, and then we're going to be there to say, we are here to help you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. And in the meantime, create way better connection with your friends and family. So, and then, Angie, if you want to continue back as you were.
Just a couple things, like whenever we do this deep dive into the ego needs and how the ego's been outwitting you and how to rein it in, you will begin to see yourself in a new light, and you'll develop a deep connection with yourself. See, that's the foundation. It's actually step one. If you're wanting to create something in your life, you have to create that connection and trust within yourself, because otherwise you can take action, but you'll wear out. It will not be sustainable. So you want to be able to create that deep connection within yourself first, trust yourself first. And when this happens, you will no longer feel leveraged by other people's behaviors or societal's views or norms. And when that happens, here's just a few benefits. I'm just going to read a couple of these benefits that you can expect just to get your mind thinking about it. You can charge what you want in business. You can enjoy loving, intimate relationships and connections. You can feel free to move about the planet and travel to your heart's content, which is something that Morgan and I really love to do. You can create the healthy body that you desire and deserve. Now, we don't have all of those things. I mean, we don't have to be perfect, right? Your desires are your desires. But these are some of the things that are possible. Cease resisting pain, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and listen to the messages of learning that come from those things. Enjoy a fulfilling career where you deeply serve other people. Have confidence that you're living your passion and your purpose. You see, we're all at different stages of experience in our life. And so Morgan and I will help you figure out where you are. We'll meet you where you're at. And we're going to help you get relief. If you're having a lot of pain, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, we're going to help start to give you that relief so that you can start to think differently, start to feel differently, and start to take different actions that allow you to be healthier, more loving for yourself and for your family. And support you in achieving your dream. Yep. So accountability is a big part of this. Morgan, any thoughts on that?
No, that's great.
So those are some of the benefits that you can expect. And here's the features of the program. And we are still working to cut a few things out, but pretty much we have it. So the first thing, Morgan,
and the general idea is that we're launching this first 6-month program in September. But for those who get signed up, they're going to get some early extra training and help and extra benefits because we've got a lot to offer. So anyway, go ahead with the features. Thank you.
So the first thing is something called the Relationship Renovation Project. It's a 6-month online course. So that's how you can get started immediately when you enroll. So you'll get the 6-month online course, and what it is, you're going to get a weekly assignment, and it's designed to help you look at your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual life, and take that holistic approach and give you a weekly assignment. And by doing that weekly assignment, we're going to teach you a routine. It's called emotional freedom technique, but we don't have to get into all that right now. The point is that it's going to move you towards your goal. I call it a goal with soul, something very important to you that you want to attain and really focus in on and make happen. So it's an online thing. the next one.
And just to add to that, it's packed with awesome lessons and videos, and all of the assignments are to help you get from where you're at now to where you want to be, because we've been through this all and we've collected these lessons for you to organize it to make your life easier.
So that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, we've done all the work on the back end through a lot of pain and a lot of sweat and tears, and just you, and that's what we have a passion to help. We want to help you bypass a lot of the stuff that we went through.
Yeah.
So you'll also get, as part of the program, 2 group coaching calls per month, second and fourth Monday evenings at 5:30 Central.
And that will be with both of us, with a kind of a guided theme to help you with the things that you're struggling with. And we already have some people signed up for this group, and we love the people that already signed up. We're excited to add to that group. It's going to be a really awesome, special, vulnerable group where we're just honest about where we're at and where we want to be, and we all support each other in that. And we've facilitated groups like this in the past, and it's been an amazing experience. So we're really excited to now be doing this together. Two minds.
Double support.
Yeah, double support. So continue.
And then we'll also be offering a private Facebook group. And within the group, we're going to offer special trainings, all supporting this whole notion of really standing in your own truth and your own power, standing up for yourself, finding your voice, all in alignment with interrupting this people-pleasing habit and really living and loving fully. So everything is supporting that. And it looks a little bit different for everybody because it depends on where they're at. But you'll have a safe, private group in which we can interact and share with each other. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so the training will happen within the group too.
Yes.
So the investment for this program, we have 3 different options. The first one is strictly where you're in group coaching, and it's $200 a month.
And that includes the Facebook group as well, and the RRP.
Yes, it includes everything I just mentioned for $200 a month, and it's a 6-month commitment. And it's called the Shift Group Coaching. And then the next level, we're including a 30-minute private coaching session. So that's going to be $333 a month. So
and it would be every month you would get one-on-one attention from Angie, right, or I, or both.
Exactly.
As the upgrade for that.
Correct. And then the third option is, if you wanted to upgrade, it's $500 a month, and that includes everything we just said, the group, the private, as well as a retreat. And we're offering a retreat this spring, so it's going to probably be April or May. We haven't set the date yet, but it's going to be a 3-day retreat. And I've been teaching these for years now, and so Morgan's coming in. We're going to collaborate, and we're going to make it even that much better. I can't really do justice to what it means to come together and face-to-face and the kind of interactions that occur in this retreat. Morgan, do you want to say anything about it? You've been through it on the other end.
The retreats changed my life because I attended Angie's retreats as a participant long before we worked together. And those retreats were very powerful because everyone comes with a goal in mind of something they want to improve, something they want to achieve, something they want to overcome. And everyone leaves like with just a whole new perspective on life and a new way of looking at it, a new list of ways that they can overcome the challenges. And there's so much intensive internal work that we do during those retreats, from emotional freedom technique to hypnosis to visualization and we're hitting it from all different angles. And it will be 3 or 4 days of just this intensive,
3 days.
And it's all about you, and it's all about what you want in life and how you can get from where you're at to where you're going. And it's amazing. It's life transforming, and not just me that says that. It's all of the clients that have participated in these agree, and sometimes even make very drastic decisions after the retreat because they just get so much clarity on what they really want. They quit their job or they go, they're ready to move on. So it's amazing.
Yes. And, I know that I'm coming on the end of coaching myself, because I always am getting coaching myself. And I will tell you that the coach that I've been coaching with, 3 of them actually, she charges for 45 minutes for a private session, $900. $900 for 45 minutes. And I can tell you right now that the quality that you would receive with Morgan and I are absolutely right up there. And I might even dare say better. I'm serious. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just confident that like this is an amazing deal. And so we want to talk to you. And, we don't have everything wired on the back end just yet for this offer, but we would love to talk to you and do a discovery session. We call it the Living and Loving Fully Strategy Session. And we'd love to get on the phone with you and really understand what are you struggling with right now? What are your challenges? What are you trying to create in your life so that we can help you go from A to B to C and really get some clarity around that. So we're offering this strategy session for you right now. Morgan, did you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, just that, your next step, if you are interested in moving forward, letting go of people pleasing, then your next step is to do this free session with us where we just decide, is this a good fit for you? Is this going to get you from where you are to where you want to be? And maybe you don't know where you want to be, but it's not where you're at, and we can help you get clarity on that as well. So we're happy to give this time to you to just see, are we a good fit for you? Is this program a good fit for you? And to answer any questions that you have about this 6-month program that we're offering. So,
and because it is our launch of us collaborating, we are offering. That's why the prices are so low. But honestly, we see these prices going up in the future. 6 months, a year from now. So we just encourage you to get in on it. And again, we want relationship. We want collaboration. We believe in long-term relationship. This isn't a fly-by-night, quick fix type of thing. Nothing good really happens overnight, does it? It takes some persistence and consistency, and that's what we're here to support you with. So what you can expect from us is that we will be sending you out an email, and in it there will be a link to a calendar where you can schedule time with us. And will it be Morgan? Will it be we got to figure out the details, okay? So, but you're going to be getting an email, and please just reach out. Let us know how we can support you, because we want to share this journey with you, and we're confident that we can help you get what you're wanting right now in your life.
Yeah,
Morgan?
No, that's perfect. I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined in the call today. We really hope that you found some of this information really helpful, because we know we've found it very helpful through all of our research and life experiences. We know that this has helped us create better connection with our kids, with our families, and with ourselves. So thank you so much for your investment of time today. And we really look forward to talking with you all again. And if there's more you'd like to know, that reach out to us, and we will be sending this recording out. If you felt like you really liked the information, it will be out to you guys soon, so you can rewatch it. And thank you guys so much.
Take care.